All right, people. So we're going to look into the solutions for the assignments which I've given you. So let's try to read the first question itself over here. We have to design and implement a class called sphere, right? That contains instance data that represents a sphere's diameter. Now think of a sphere. Some of you guys might be thinking of a ball. Okay. It can be of any size, right? It can be a football, it can be basketball, it can be a cricket ball. Doesn't really matter. These are all spheres, right? So over here, when you look at a ball or a sphere, it's a definition. Anything which is round in shape and is going to have a non-zero diameter is going to be a sphere. So over here, they have asked to create a sphere constructor to accept and initialize the diameter. So you know what is the purpose of a constructor. Again, to quickly revise, a constructor is basically used to set some values to the instance variable when during the object creation. So explicitly, I don't have to call the setters. But they have also said over here on the next line that include getter and setter method for the diameter, which is fine. We can do that, right? We can include the getter and the setter for the diameter. Pretty simple. Why do we need getters and setters, by the way? Of course, to follow the concept of encapsulation. Variables and methods are going to be binded together. Include a method to calculate and return the volume and the surface area of the sphere, something that we can do. Okay. The next point over here is to include a toString method that returns a one-line description of the sphere. So this is something new, which we'll see what exactly it is. Then the last point they have said is create a class, main class of course, called multisphere, whose main method instantiate and update several sphere objects. So basically you just want to have a runner class. Instead of calling it a runner class, they are telling us to use the word multisphere, which is going to contain what? A main method. And basically what main method is going to do, it's going to help us execute the program. And in that main method, we want to create multiple or several sphere objects. That's all we are supposed to do. Okay. So first, what we're going to do is we are going to create a package for this particular assignment. I'm going to go inside this particular src folder, right click over here, and I'm going to create a package because this is a separate program only. We're going to take it. So I'm just going to call it, let's say com.sphere. Just can give any name. It's just for identification what exactly is the program all about. So I'm creating com.sphere over here. Perfect. Next, they have asked us to create a sphere class. Just blindly go and right click on the package and create a class called sphere. So this is my sphere class. Will it have a public static void main method? No. We are just going to create a class called sphere, which is going to have the instance variable inside it. Technically what we are trying to create, pojos. Okay. So pojo, your plain old Java object, is going to pop in. Let's click on finish and done. Now they have asked us to create a instance variable that is called as sphere diameter. Now whenever I'm going to create any instance variable, the variable which is created inside the class and is what? Non-static. We are going to call it what? Instance variable. Instance variable are going to be marked with what access specifier? Private access specifier. So just blindly go ahead and type private. Now they have not defined what will be the data type. You're free to choose whatever you wish to do. I'm going to go with double because in real world, you know, like the diameter can be a decimal number also, right? So I'm just going to call it private double. Okay, done. Instance variable created. Next, they have asked us to create a constructor. So I'm just going to right click over here, go to source, generate constructor using the fields option, select this all, and it's actually selected. So there's only one instance variable that we have created, right? Diameter. So that's what is going to get highlighted. Click on generate and your job is done. Now we'll look into the super keyword some other time. It's not a main concern as of now, so don't worry about it. But remember one thing, a constructor is a method. What is the significance of this method? that this method is going to have the same name as that of the class. A constructor is going to be called when? During the object creation. Okay, so three things happens. Class is loaded into the memory, instance variable is created, and the constructor is going to be called. Next, they have asked us to create getters and setters. So just hit enter, right click one more time, go to source, and I'll say generate getters and setters. Just select it one more time and generate. And here you have get diameter and set diameter. So over here, guys, if you look carefully, the code is exactly the same. There's nothing fancy that is happening in the set diameter and the constructor. But the only difference is this is going to be called automatically, whereas the set diameter, we have to call it explicitly. I have to call it by myself. Only then set diameter is going to come into picture. The next thing they have asked for is to create a functionality which calculates the volume of sphere. So how we are going to do it? First, create a method. I'm going to create a method over here called as public void as of now, and I'm just going to call this as calculate volume of sphere. Look at the naming convention of this particular method, calculate volume of sphere. Over here, guys, the C is in lowercase. It's the first word, calculate, right? So C is going to be in lowercase. Next is volume. Volume is another word. That is the second word. And from second word onwards, the first alphabet of each word is always going to be in upper case. This is a convention and you are always supposed to follow the convention. Okay, you cannot write like this. This is wrong. If I just write over here, calculate volume of sphere. No, this is wrong. Okay, the moment you write like this in your interview or in your office project, it shows the maturity that you have in the language. So please do not break any conventions. Whatever I'm teaching it slowly so that you can make it a habit of following it. Okay, never be in a rush on completing the entire code in one shot. Why do you want to do that? Anyhow, if the code get completed in like an extra 30 minutes, there's nothing bad about it, right? As long as you know what you are writing, as long as you know how the program is going to get executed in the memory, you are always winning. But if you just write the code for the sake of completion, you are at a loss. So Java is a topic that you cannot rush. Okay, you cannot try to learn things quickly in Java because that's not how you learn a language. You have to absorb certain things. So let's fix the convention quickly. And this is the convention. So we have created a function called as calculate volume of sphere. And now in order to calculate the volume of the sphere, the formula is shown on your screen. That is 4 by 3 pi r cube. Yes or no? Now, how do I calculate radius? What is the formula for radius? Diameter by 2. Diameter is basically what? Twice the radius. So radius is going to be what? Diameter divided by 2. So we will be passing the diameter. So of course the sphere would be created. So I can calculate the radius. Now, if my diameter is double, then what will be my radius data type be? It's going to be double itself. So just write over here double radius is equal to diameter divided by 2. You got the radius. Now radius is what variable? Instance variable or a local variable? Local variable gonna be created inside the stack memory when the function is going to be called. Next, I create another variable over here called as double volume. That's what we are calculating. You need to understand what is the agenda of this function. It's going to calculate the volume. The radius is calculated because we need it in the formula over here, 4 by 3 pi r cube. So I'm going to write over here is equal to 4 divided by 3. 4 divided by 3. Now, put an into sign. Next is what? Pi. Right? What is the value of pi? 3.142. You can take any value, just Google it. Probably this is the value of pi. Such a big number. So you can't use the entire number. You have to just take the part of this number. So I'm going to go with 3.14. So I'm just going to write over here 3.14 into. Now you have the radius. Take this radius. It's r cube, right? So radius into radius into radius. Okay. Here you have calculated the volume of the sphere, and that volume is being stored over here. Now, let's say, guys, I want to return this value. So I write over here return volume, meaning this function is going to give me some kind of a data, some kind of a value. Okay. And you can see that if I am returning volume, what is the data type of volume? Double. So guys, whatever you are returning, if I return volume, the return type of this function has to be double now. This is the rule. Whatever is the data type of the variable will eventually become the return type of the function. So we have completed the calculation of volume of sphere. Now we want to calculate the surface area. Again, in order to calculate the surface area of the sphere, the formula is in front of you. What I need to do is, again, I need to create a function. So I'm just going to go down and I'm going to write over here public void. Start with void. We'll decide whether what exactly will be the return type of this function. If you know, great, but we'll write the code and then we'll figure out what will be the return type of this function is going to be. Now I'm going to write over here public void and just write over here calculate surface, one word, area is another word, of is another word, sphere is another word. Actually, we never used such big names for the function. So just for your practice, I'm giving this function a big name. Now, again, 4 pi r square, that's the formula. So r needs to be calculated. That is, radius needs to be calculated. I'm going to write over here double radius is equal to, again, diameter divided by 2. Next, I'm going to write over here double surface area, because that's what this function is doing. It's calculating the surface area, is equal to 4 into 3.14 into radius into radius. Okay, so I got the surface area over here calculated, 4 pi r square, but my job is not done yet. I'm going to return this value. So I'm just going to write over here return surface area. So if I'm returning the surface area, friends, what will be the return type of this function going to be? Think. Double, right? So just put over here double. Done. Control Shift F just to fix the indentation, and your job is done. Okay, so we have created this entire class called sphere, which has a diameter as an instance variable. You have created a constructor which initializes the diameter for us. There are getters and setters. Okay, and we have created two functionalities called calculate volume of sphere and calculate surface area of the sphere. This is something that we have done. Now we want to execute the program. So how we are going to do it? They have told us to create a class called as multi-sphere. So I'm going to right click in the sphere package itself and I'm going to create a new class. Where is the new class here? And I'm going to call this class as multi-sphere. Okay. What is the significance of the multi-sphere? It's a starting point. It's our runner class now. Runner is not a fixed name. I can give it any name over here. So this time we are going to with multi-sphere. And what exactly your multi-sphere is going to have inside it? The main method. Just click on finish and here you go. Now they have told us to create multiple sphere objects, right? So we can do that. So I'm just going to write over here sphere S1. So S1 is what? S1 is my reference variable. Why we say it's a reference variable? Because this guy is going to store where the object is loaded in the which memory? Heap memory. So let's create an object, new sphere. Now you see that the moment I write new sphere and I hit Control space on my keyboard, I get this suggestion that sphere, there's a function called sphere which takes double as a parameter. That's nothing more than your constructor. If I press go over here and select this guy, this function is called over here, right? So in order to create a sphere, I can directly give my diameter as an argument. So I'm just going to write over here, let's say I'm creating a sphere of 30.0 as a diameter. Done. Now what I want over here, guys, is I want to calculate the surface area and the volume. So I'm just going to write over here, observe system.out.println s1 dot calculate the volume of sphere. That function is automatically coming as a suggestion. Next one, again I'm going to write over here system.out.println s1 dot calculate the volume of s1 dot calculate the surface area, and your job is done. So this is the first sphere that I'm creating. Okay, so let's say this sphere is going to have a diameter 30. So now if I run this particular code, I'm going to get the output. This is the volume of the sphere, whereas this is the surface area. The first sphere has been created. Now let's go ahead and create our second sphere. So if you look carefully, there is already one ball in the memory. Think of a sphere as a ball right now. Okay, so there's one ball that have already been created. Now I want to bring another ball of different diameter. So again, a new object needs to be created. So I'm just going to write over here sphere s2 is equal to new sphere. And let's say I'm going to have the sphere size as the diameter as 10.5. Okay. Again, I can just write over here system.out.println s2 dot calculate the surface area this time, or let's say calculate the volume of sphere, and system.out.println s2 dot calculate the surface area. Now in order to differentiate between the output, I'm just going to write something over here system.out.println sphere 2, and let's hit enter. System.out.println sphere 1. So here I have sphere 1 data, and this is going to show me sphere 2 data for us. So little bit more beautification. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm just going to put it over here. Same for this guy. Now if I run this piece of code, you will see that I'm getting two different output. For the first one is for the sphere 1, whatever is the volume of sphere and the surface area. Second one, again I'm getting a different volume of sphere for the sphere 2, of course, and I'm getting the surface area printed over here. And that's basically what classes and objects do. I have defined a rule in the sphere class that we can have the volume of the sphere and the surface area of the sphere being calculated. All we need to do is we just need to give the diameter and it will be calculated for us. Now imagine, people usually ask what is the purpose of having getters and setters, what exactly is they doing. So let me ask you this question over here, guys. Can a sphere have a negative diameter? The answer is no. If there is a shape, any shape in the real world in which you and me exist, we don't have anything which has a negative shape size, right? It will have a dimension. Okay, your scale also starts with only positive number, that is, it starts from 0 and then it proceeds up to 1, 2, 3 and all those things. So the thing over here, guys, is if I enter a negative number as a diameter, technically I'm entering a wrong value for the diameter. This code should not be working for us because there cannot be a sphere with negative diameter. So I want to have a validation. What user is entering for this particular object, I just need to be very sure of. So that's why, guys, we have special methods which we call as validators or validations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function over here called as private. For the first time, we are creating a private function because this is the business logic for us. You never expose the business logic to the real world, right? The other people are not interested in knowing how do you decide which is a valid sphere and a non-valid sphere. That's all. So I'm going to create a private. As of now, we are going to call it void. And I'm going to create a function with the name verify diameter. So if I'm verifying the diameter, I need to pass the diameter. So just write over here double diameter. Oopsie. Double diameter. And what I want is I want to check whether the diameter is greater than 0. It has to be greater than 0. Only then we can proceed off with the execution. So I'm just going to write over here if the diameter which has been given to this function is greater than 0, that is, it has to be a non-zero number, only then we are allowed to proceed. Else, I will just write over here system.out.println invalid diameter. And just to give an option to the user telling what went wrong, I'm just going to write over here diameter has to be a non-zero entry. Okay, so what is going to happen if I write this now? It's pretty simple. I'm just going to write over here return true. If the diameter is greater than 0, it's a true condition. That is, we are allowed to proceed. What is true? Boolean. The Boolean data type can only handle true or false value. It's a condition that is coming into picture. So we are going to make it Boolean as a return type over here. Okay. So over here, I'm returning true. And in the else block, I'm just going to write over here. Either you can write over here return false. Okay. This is something that can be done. Okay. I'm just writing over here return false. If the diameter is greater than 0, we are going to return true. If it is less than 0, that is if it's a negative number or is equal to 0 because there's no sphere with 0 diameter, right? We're going to return false. Scroll all the way up. And this is where we are setting the value here and here. So I'm just going to write over here observe if call that function verify diameter. Diameter requires a double diameter. Will I be getting the diameter value? Yes, we are going to pass this guy. If this is going to happen, only then I'm allowed to do this. Only then this code is going to get executed. Else, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to terminate the execution. System.exit.0. Done. So before entering any value inside my instance variable, we can do a validation. A verification can be done, and that's why we have these verification methods. If you make the variable as public, you cannot do that. So in the sphere class, I will have the getters and setters, the functionalities, as well as the validation if required. And now you have created a pretty good class. It works like a charm now. This is far more better from where we started. If I go back over here and if I run this piece of code, you will see that for the first sphere, it did the calculation, but for the second sphere, it is not calculating anything. Why? Because it's a negative entry. Let's talk about this reference variable for a moment, guys. What did we understand about S1? S1 is a reference variable. S1 stores what inside it? The memory address. Have you ever tried printing S1? So just write over here system.println S1. What should be the output over here? Memory address, right? Click on the play button. What do you get? You get a memory address over here. It prints a memory address for us, right? Now what I want over here, guys, is they have told us to include a toString method which gives a one-line description about the sphere data. So how do we create the toString method? Very simple, actually. Just go over here and right click, go to source and select over here generate toString. Select this guy. This window is going to open for us. Select the field diameter. Of course you need that, and it's going to show me all the other methods that are present. Only the public methods will be shown. Private are never shown over here. So you're going to see that I want to have the calculate volume of sphere as well as the surface area. I'm just going to click on generate, and this is the method which has come into picture. It returns me a one-line description. Sphere diameter is going to be this, the volume of that sphere is this, and the calculate surface area is this. Now observe the difference what toString does to your reference variable. If I run this piece of code, it converts your reference variable more like into a string, which shows me the status of the instance variable and also the values of its functionalities in one line itself. That's the beauty of toString. Makes my life much more easier. You don't need to write these two lines. If you just want to see the entire data in one shot, you can just write S1 and get your job done, provided you are having this toString method. So that is what toString method is doing into your code. Okay, so I have solved the first assignment for you guys. I want you guys to try to do the second assignment how I have done the first one. It's pretty same, but give it a shot by yourself, and if possible solve the remaining two also. Okay, but remember, writing code is not your major challenge. You can just Google things over the internet and you'll still find the solution. What your main goal should be when you're writing the code is understanding how the code is working. So start creating those memory blocks which I've shown you, and practice how the execution is going to flow from multi-sphere class to your sphere class. Okay, how the class is going to be loaded into the memory, when is and how is s1.calculate volume sphere is called. Do not jump into any of the line. You have to start from the main method for understanding the execution, and only then go to the sphere class for the further processing. This is the only way to learn stuff. Okay, so I wish you good luck. Please practice it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.